All right, guys, go ahead. Say hello to Bella. Say hello to Bella and William. They are in the virtual world. So.
Hi.
Hi, Bella. Hi, William.
Hello. Wait, are we live? How you doing? Hello. Wait, they can hear us right now?
How you doing?
Wait, are they watching right now?
They're gonna be once I post it.
Yay.
So, how you doing?
It was fun.
Okay, so for today, we are only doing lesson 3.1.4 today, as I said. We are going to do 3.1.5 tomorrow because both of these lessons are a little bit longer. Okay, so we're only doing lesson 3.1.4 today. So to start off, you guys are going to start taking notes on lesson 3.1.4. Okay, so warming up, first 15 minutes is taking notes from just lesson. I need to change that. Oh. I said doo-doo.
Okay, that's childish.
Right. I teach middle schoolers for a reason.
That's doo.
I said doo-doo. All right. Okay, so first 15 minutes is, it did not save. Wow, thanks, Brady. You hurt my feelings. Yep, personal management points gone. You hurt my feelings. Okay, warm up.
You hurt my feelings by not being my friend.
So, first 15 minutes, we are going to do taking notes on this lesson. So, go ahead, read pages 123 to 125, 123 to 125, and start taking notes on the vocab and the objectives. The countdown starts now. Here. All right, so yeah, happy 2020. No. All right, so how was that? How was taking notes on that lesson? Not bad?
No.
Okay, good. How far did you guys get?
I got
All the objectives? On objective two?
I got
Okay.
all the objectives, but I didn't really
Missed one of them?
objective two.
Gotcha. So these right here are the 3 different types of spore producers. So club moss, horsetails, and ferns, none of them have reproduced by using seeds. They reproduce through spores. So just like mushrooms, these guys are going to reproduce with spores. So don't need to write this part down. This is just I thought it was a pretty cool intro slide to what we're going to be talking about. So let's talk about that. So I would write down these questions. I would write down those questions because there's a really good chance that at least one of these 4 questions will be on your upcoming quiz, which will be after break on Tuesday. Yeah. Yep. So number 1, how do ferns, club mosses, and horsetails reproduce? I kind of already said the answer. They reproduce through spores. They all reproduce through spores. So that's one similarity they all have. So what type of plant, or the type of plant that ferns, club mosses, and horsetails, what are they called? What are they called? So the type of plants that ferns, club mosses, and horsetails are called, what are they called, Johnny?
They're called vascular.
They are vascular. Yep, they are vascular plants. Good. So remember on Monday we talked about, well, you guys looked through your reading and we talked about vascular and non-vascular plants. So vascular plants, they are a type of plant that have vessels to transport materials. Non-vascular plants are a type of plant that do not have vessels to transport materials. And they're usually smaller. Yep, so we talked about yesterday non-vascular plants. So what were the examples of non-vascular plants yesterday? How many were there, first and foremost?
2, 3.
Yep, there was 3. So we're talking about 3 vascular plants today, and yesterday we talked about 3 non-vascular. You guys remember? What's one of them? Johnny?
Liverwort.
Liverwort was one of them. All you have to do is pretty much turn the page and you'll see.
Mosses.
Yep, mosses, and then Brady, what's the last one? What?
Hornwort.
Hornwort, yep. So those were the 3 types of non-vascular plants. So one of the types of mosses we have is club moss. So why is club moss different than just regular moss? Did you guys catch that in the reading? Johnny, what did you see?
Because well, club moss is for slow resting.
Yep.
And
that's the main reason. It's because club mosses are vascular. Other than that, they are very similar in almost every way, except the fact that club moss is vascular. Regular moss, which you would find on a tree, is non-vascular.
don't club mosses reproduce?
They both reproduce through spores. Yep. What?
Those two?
Two, I'm going to have all the answers here in just a sec up there. So number 3, name 2 characteristics of ferns, club mosses, and horsetails. Give me 2 characteristics. What do they all have in common? Is one of them is that they are.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say?
Go for it.
Okay, they all are vascular. They all reproduce spores, and they all have the same life cycle.
Exactly. They all have the same life cycle. They all are vascular, and they all reproduce through spores. So we're really hitting the nail on the head right there. We need to know that these are all vascular, that they all reproduce through spores, and they all have the same life cycle. Yeah, Brady. Yes, so the spores grow into, what do they grow into, Brady? Gamophytes. Yep, gametophytes or gamophytes. Good. So I'll put up all the answers here.
After gamophytes, they fertilize the egg cell and they grow into sporophytes.
Good.
It makes an adult.
Yes, so once they turn into a gametophyte, just like Johnny said, they are going to then go through their life cycle, turn into a sporophyte. And then from there, they're going to produce spores, and we go back through the process over and over again. Okay, so those are all the answers for each of those questions. So I would write those down if you have not already, because there's a good chance those are going to pop up on the quiz, at least one of them, at least one of them. So get those written down. We are now going to differentiate between ferns, horsetails, and club mosses. So let's dive deeper into each one of these to see how each of them are different from each other. We went over the similarities. So they all produce spores, right? They are all vascular, and they all have the same life cycle. So how are they different from each other? Because as we saw on that last slide, they all look a little bit different from each other. So ferns, first off, the only thing that we really use them for as humans is we are going to use them as houseplants. You know, we don't use them for any kind of medical purposes. We don't use them for any kind of, we don't use them in our, what's it called? We don't use them to clean anything. So there's not really a lot of purpose for a fern other than obviously producing carbon dioxide. So we kind of need the air from ferns, and then the fact that we use them as plants. So let's go over a little bit about the different things that are within a fern. So first off, they have an underground stem. They have an underground stem, and that is called a rhizome. Not a ribosome, a rhizome. Very different. A rhizome, and that's one of your vocab words. Can someone read the definition of a rhizome for me? Talon, go for it.
Rhizome is a horizontal underground stem.
Yep, a horizontal underground stem. So horizontal, that means it goes flat. So think of the floor. The floor is horizontal. We walk on it. Vertical, it goes straight up and down. So vertical, an example of that would be the wall. Okay, so horizontal, it would be the floor. Okay, so that rhizome, it is horizontal in the ground. And the reason it's horizontal, well, one big reason is so it doesn't tip over or get pulled out of the ground as easy. Another thing is it's divided in, it has divided leaves. So all of the leaves so each of the leaves, they are divided into a bunch of smaller leaves. So if you kind of look at this picture of the fern right here, you have the main leaves on the outside, and then there's a bunch of tiny little leaves built up all over it. So roots, they grow from the rhizome, Roots grow off of the rhizome. So the rhizome is the main structure, and then a bunch of roots are going to grow off of that. So I'll draw here on the board kind of what I'm talking about. So it's kind of a horizontal structure like this. The fern is up here. Here's my fern. I know it's terrible.
It looks like it's
So this is my rhizome right here. Growing off of that is going to be a bunch of roots everywhere. And this is underground right here. Here's grass. Am I a good drawer? It doesn't look like a fern, does it?
It looks like a turkey tail.
Oh, cool. No, it does not look good.
You
I'm gonna erase that.
need to put a little bit of space between the bonds and put zigzags alongside.
Zigzags, that would have been a good idea. So, young fronds make fiddleheads. Did you guys read about fiddleheads in there?
They're curly up and it looks like they're shape
Of a violin. Yep. So at the very end, and if you look in your book on page, what is that? 123. At the very end, they are curled at the end, kind of just like the end of a violin. Have you guys ever seen a fern before that has those fiddleheads at the very end? Probably. We have lots of ferns, lots of horsetails, and lots of club moss all around here in the Northwest.
Because they all grow in moist conditions.
Yep, because all of them grow in moist conditions.
You're running, I saw too.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The other class was telling me that you guys saw horsetails, ferns, and club mosses out there. Well, maybe you weren't looking. Well, you were walking on the asphalt too. So that might also be why. The back corner, that makes sense. That's because they look like a violin. Oh, by the stream, that makes sense. So the underside of the fronds are called sori. So the reason it's called sori is because they produce, that's where the spores are produced. So underneath the fern leaves, you're going to have all the spores. So have you ever looked underneath a fern leaf, and then you're going to see a bunch of little, I think it's like an orange dot underneath? Those are all the spores. So when the wind blows, they're going to blow off, and they're going to go land somewhere, and then they will eventually turn into the gametite and eventually turn back into a new fern. Okay, so that is how ferns reproduce, and those are some of the structures that are found within a fern. So when we get to horsetails here, they are a lot different from ferns. They are a lot different. So first off, we use horsetails, well, not us, but humans in general. We use them to clean pots and pans. So think of like a third world country that goes to wash their dishes down in a river or a lake. When they go down, horsetails are readily available because they are next to bodies of water. So they will take the horsetails and use them to scrape off their pots and pans to get all that gunk off of their pots and pans. So obviously we don't use them because here in America, we can just run down to Dollar Tree, grab a sponge from the Dollar Tree. So we don't really need horsetails. But this is what a lot of people would use hundreds of years ago, and definitely still prevalent in third world countries. Does anyone know what a third world country is? Johnny, can you explain?
Third world country doesn't really have the technology, really.
Yeah.
They kind of, they don't really.
Yep, they lack the technology that we do. They lack modern medicine. They lack pretty much every resource that here in America we have. We are considered a first world country because we live very bougie here in America. We get a lot of, our problems are usually pretty weenie problems, because our problems are usually, oh, I'm going to go outside. Oh, I'm wet. I need to go back inside because I'm all wet. People who are living in third world countries, they don't even really have a house. They might have a house, but they have leaks coming in through their house. So they don't really have anywhere that is actually dry. So we have it really nice here in America. So third point, they have the same life cycle as ferns. That's what Johnny was saying, was one of the similarities, that horsetails, ferns, and club mosses, they all have the same type of life cycle. They all have the same type of life cycle. And then something about the appearance of horsetails is that they have tiny scales. They have tiny little scales. If you look really closely, you can usually see it with a little handheld microscope, you would be able to see the tiny scale-like structure on the horsetails, which is pretty cool. Kind of looks like a reptile. And then they have short branches. So for each horsetail, as you saw in the video I showed yesterday, you can just break off the little horsetails from each part. You can put it back in, but when you put it back in, it's not going to keep growing because it's dead. You killed it. It did. She gone. All right, so that's horsetails. Any questions about ferns or horsetails so far? We all good? Sweet. Okay, so let's talk about club mosses. Club mosses. So they are used to coat the outside of pills. So the outside coating of pills, club mosses are part of that process, which is kind of cool. So you guys know the outside coating of a pill, how it kind of has a smooth outside, yeah, like the capsule. Yep. So when you try and swallow it, it goes down your throat easier. Club mosses, it's not just club moss. There's a lot of other chemicals and that are in it to make that possible. But club moss is actually one of the main ingredients in that, which is kind of cool. And then they're also used in fireworks too, which we love fireworks, don't we? Here in America, we have a day of the year where we pretty much celebrate fireworks. America.
This is America.
No, it's America. Just America.
Don't care about the
No, you just say America.
America.
Here in America, we care about America, freedom, and Jesus. That's a movie reference right there. Yes. That's a movie reference there if you didn't catch that one. So club mosses, they lack the stem and leaf structure that ferns have. So they do not have a stem and a leaf. It is just, what I would compare it to is I would compare it to the, it's pretty much just a bunch of massive leaves that are just branching off of each other. So there's no stem, no main stem. Yep, epiphyte. Good. So the third point, they have the same life cycle. So all three of these, they have the same life cycle. And then the last point I wanted to point out is that they are similar to moss, except they have vascular tissue. So that's what I was saying a little bit earlier. Club moss and moss, they are similar in almost every way, except regular moss that you're going to find on a tree, on the ground, just anywhere. It's non-vascular, and then club moss, it is vascular. So, and there is a question asking about the difference between club moss and moss. So you would just say one of them has vascular tissue, the other one has non-vascular tissue. And if you forget about that, it talks about it in lesson 3.1.1, the very first lesson. That is club moss. Yes. So that is it. You guys, we got through that a lot faster in this class. The other class, they dilly-dally.
Said America.
America. So for the rest of class, what I'm gonna have you guys do is keep working on your science, or you can continue working on your math homework. So work on your math homework, work on your science homework, whatever you're working on, just make sure you're working on something to get it done before Friday or before Thursday, okay? Because, yep. So all of this, all your math and all your science is due tomorrow. So make sure you will have the rest of science class today and math class to work on all of this, okay? So you got lots of work time, about little under a half hour, so about 25 minutes in science, and then you'll also have the entire class period of math to work on everything, okay? So that's it for today.